Good morning. It is Wednesday, and so we're here for a core mat workout. We are going to start seated, so don't lie down. You can, of course, come to ground and get comfortable there. And you might find that you want to sit on a blanket or maybe a low cushion or stool. We're going to do our initial breathing and then some movement. So we plan to be here about 5 minutes. Yeah. You want to have something for inner thighs as well. Dumbbells perhaps, and maybe a flex band if you like to use that for different modifications of the exercises. And then when you've gotten all of that, go ahead and come to seated on your blanket. And I'm going to get my blanket handy here. Okay. And you can have your legs crossed if you're seated on the floor and that feels comfortable. Of course, if you're a little higher, you can just have your feet flat to the ground. There's a lot of variations here. The important part is the upright posture of the spine. And of course, with all the neutral curves intact. I'll change my camera here a little bit. So start at the base of your torso and find your sitting bones. Rock a little forward and back over those 2 points that define the bottom of the pelvis. And then coming to that center point on top, put a little attention to equal weight side to side. And it's not uncommon to lean more into one side, especially, the more right or left-handed you are. So just kind of let those come to level as well. Relaxing the hips helps. And then as you breathe in and out, feel that the breath can descend all the way into the lower belly or the bowl of the pelvis. And the exhale can rise all the way up through the crown of the head with essentially an unbroken channel for the breath to pass through. That means as you work your way up the line of your posture, you can slide the ribs a little forward and back, a little side to side, and then finally make that centered position over top the opening of the pelvis below. And as you feel those things coming into alignment or resolution, make sure that you feel a sense of lift or stretch between those two structures. So rather than crushing the ribs down into the pelvis or kind of slumping over into place, you feel a lengthened stretch between the points, like pulled taffy. Couple breaths in and out. And you can think also about centering the chest. Feel that the center of your chest at the top, where your heart is suspended, is right over the inside of the rib cage and atop the inside of the navel and right over the center of pelvic floor. You can adjust the shoulders forward and back here, up and down, finally hanging them in a neutral, comfortable place, and then do the same adjustment for the head. Maybe sliding it forward and back or tilting it up and down until it balances comfortably on top of the spine. Place a hand on the chest and a hand on the low belly below the navel. And lower your gaze, or maybe even close your eyes. As you relax the hips, lightly activate pelvic floor and inhale downward. Softening neck and shoulders now. Exhale through the mouth upward. And feel like the breath lifts through an opening at the top of your head. Inhale downward, feeling pelvic floor support. That pelvic floor support lifting a little to meet the inhale as it descends. And then exhale, lifting through your crown, but also settling downward into your contact points with the ground. As you inhale, allow the chest to open to accept the volume of breath. And then same thing for the belly. And then as you exhale and empty the lungs, the belly and the chest soften and draw inward a little bit, particularly the belly. Continue here. I'll let you breathe for half a minute more without my talking, feeling the breath in the sides of the waist as well as up and down your length. Finish the breath you're on and take one more round of inhale and exhale. And then drop your hands down to a comfortable position. Open your eyes and slide the base of your skull back. Lifting the gaze to neutral or maybe upward, inhale. And then exhale, drop the chin down. And this is a reverse breathing pattern from what we usually use on the mat for head nods. We're going to continue here, inhaling to open the throat, to stretch the jawline as you lift the face. And exhale, think of lifting the base of your skull behind your ears, allowing the chin to settle down in front. 2 more times, throat stretches. And then back of the neck stretches. One more time here, be sure not to apply force. And when I use the term stretch, think more in terms of opening areas of the body. Bring the head to center. And then look over your right shoulder. I do like to inhale as I turn the head. You can do the same. Exhale, pass through center. And then inhale, scanning across to the other side. Returning through center, and do that a couple more times. So you keep focusing on your breath, and you might be wondering, why on earth are we doing all these neck things? Well, most of us are in a cold part of the country right now. And a lot of times we tense our shoulders, right? Or we tighten our chest or upper back or neck. And even if you're not in a cold part of the country, could be just the current state of affairs in general, causes a little bit of anxiety or tension. And that also can trigger the neck and the shoulders, the upper back and chest. When you return from that last side, gaze forward and feel the centeredness of the head. We're going to do a new motion here, and I want you to please go carefully through it. On your inhale, think of sliding your right ear toward your right shoulder. And then exhale through center and inhale, slide left ear toward left shoulder. Inhale and inhale. I have been in an exercise class where this is called the Janet Jackson. For those of you who remember the 80s and the 90s and that little movement side to side that she often included in her choreography, you'll know what I'm talking about. One more time, sliding side to side, which is a natural range of movement for the head, but sometimes we forget about that. When you've returned to center, last thing, lift the base of your skull, nodding the chin downward, and then finally circle the right ear toward the right shoulder. Rolling the chin downward toward the center of the chest, breath of your choice. Left ear to left shoulder. Do again to each side. Again, not straining, but simply finding the range of motion that's present and warming through that range. Lift your head up and come to hands and knees, please. And we're going to do a couple of cat stretches, which is not what we ordinarily do at the beginning of mat class, but we're going to do it here. Pat under your wrists or knees and come into that neutral position. I'll give you a little bit straight on angle here. Make sure that the ribs are feeling mobile and juicy through the shoulders, the hips as well, rocking forward and back. And when you've done all of those things, we continue into 3 rounds of cat and cow, preparing in your centered neutral position. Inhale, feel Kegel support. And then on the exhale, begin to contract through the lower abs and reach the tailbone down behind the curve of the glutes. Continue flexing through the spine like a spooked cat. And at the end of your exhale, at the end of your flexion, pause in that position to inhale. The next exhale returns you to neutral from the bottom to the top. Try to move equally through both left and right halves of the torso, the ribs, the shoulders, and then inhale and extend through the upper back, reaching open through the chest without straining the shoulders into the neck. Release it and do 2 more, please. Last round. Pardon me. When you've completed cat and cow, please lie down on your back. Have the ball between your inner thighs or knees. I'm going to shift my mat back a little bit while you're doing that. And maybe the blanket under your head as an option. Have dumbbells nearby in case you want to use them for arm movement. And settle into a neutral posture through the spine. We'll breathe here just briefly before we resume our movement. And in that breath, not only aware of your posture, but also of your length, feel again your core support. So when you inhale, we have that light contraction through the base of the pelvis, and you're moving the inhale down toward it as the pelvic floor support lifts. They meet just below and behind the navel. And then exhale from that center point, find your length through both ends. We inhale downward, relaxing open through the upper ribs. Add a little squeeze through the inner thighs as you exhale. Continuing here for about a minute. Pay attention moment by moment to what's going on, and make sure that using inner thighs doesn't trigger your low back or your glutes or the front of your hips. Make sure that you're able to inhale without a tightness or a holding in the chest or the neck. Do 3 more rounds of breath. One more inhale and exhale. And layering here, now we add imprint and release. On the exhale breath, as you lengthen through and squeeze inner thighs, roll the low back and pelvis into an imprint, lengthening as you change the shape of your lumbar spine. Inhale, return to neutral, and repeat 4 more rounds. Now remember that as you lengthen and change the shape of your low spine, you're also lengthening through the consistent shape of your upper spine. So the ribs and shoulders are still resting in the same place. And we're isolating the spinal movement to below the rib cage and the low back, all the way down to the tip of the tail. 2 more times, please. Feel that lower half of the spine And all the elements of it coordinating both in length and in that wave-like motion of imprint. Once you've returned through neutral, we're going to continue with some simple arm reaches back. No dumbbells yet, please. Just extend the arms forward. And as you prepare to do the exercise, get a picture in your mind's eye of your shoulder blades on your back. Exhale and set the tone of your core. And then as you inhale and reach the arms back, allow the bottom of the shoulder blades to widen and lift away from each other. As you exhale and return, feel the bottom of the shoulder blades starting to come toward each other as the upper part of the shoulder blades now widen and move apart. So what I'm describing is the rotation, reaching back, shoulder blades spinning away from each other. The rotation of the shoulder blades on the back. Now, as you return on exhale, the top of the shoulder blades widen and spin away from each other, settling into their neutral position. Do 2 more of these. And as you refine your motion with your awareness of the action in the shoulders, feel like the movement itself becomes smoother and more comfortable. 1 more, please, reaching back on inhale. And returning on the exhale. Bend your elbows and put your palms under the base of your skull. And on your inhale, lift up under the base of the skull, not away from the floor, but away from the top of the shoulder blades. We're going to resume that bending through the larger part of the spine, and you can think of the section from the bottom of the ribs upward, keeping the pelvis stable now. On the next exhale breath, feel the bottom of the ribs gathering inward from the sides and sliding downward over the surface of the belly. Inside, the diaphragm relaxes. Inhale at the top and exhale, return. A little bit different breath pattern than imprint. Well, not on the inhale. And moving only on the exhale, we release upward internally and slide together and downward externally, the ribs integrating over the surface of your core. Inhale and exhale, lower. And of course, we're using all of our breath connections. Do 4 more, nodding, squeezing the ball lightly, bending forward, using the bottom of the ribs, not the shoulder blades, not the neck. Now, as you go through the last couple of repetitions, know that when you bend forward, we're going to allow the bottom of the shoulder blades to stretch apart just a little bit. Not a lot, but enough so that we haven't locked the bottom of your back ribs into the bottom of the shoulder blades. We want adaptive sliding or movement between those parts so that as you bend the upper part of your spine forward, all the pieces of it move fluidly without fighting each other. Once you've lowered from your last one, put your head mat off to the side or lower it down to almost flat. And bring your arms down by your sides with your palms facing upward. We'll move into hip rolls, connecting the bottom of the spine to the top of the spine, really up through just the shoulders. We'll be pivoting across the shoulders at the top. Find your feet, Kegel, inhale, and then exhale, active through the inner thighs. Begin to contract the lower abs. Sequentially upward through the midsection into the upper abs, bottom of the rib area. And we're pressing our feet down and extending our hips upward with the glutes. So not only have we connected through the length of our spine, please pause and inhale at the top. Exhale sequentially downward, releasing across the chest, allowing a certain stretchiness at the bottom of the back ribs, lengthening through the waistline, landing gently and evenly through the pelvis and into neutral. Do two more. Anyway, we're not only connecting sequentially through the spine, but we've added the glute muscles, the back of the hips. Try to use those glute muscles equally. Again, kind of a trick because we often are right and left-handed and right and left-legged. But we are trying to achieve balance here, among other things. So as you roll up and down, try to use the back of the hips and legs more and more equally and with the same timing. You'll feel that in the soles of your feet as well. One more repetition, please. Let the upper traps rest. Let the chest rest. And then roll down one last time. And as you roll down, feel both a length and a connectedness. And try to retain that feeling of strength and suppleness, not only through the rib cage into the pelvis, but as we begin to work the arms from the shoulders into the ribs. Grab the dumbbells that make sense for you. I'm going to work with lighter dumbbells today. We're actually going to start with elbows on the mat. With elbows on the mat, we're going to have a 90-degree angle at those elbows and the weights in the hands. Feel the settling of the whole length of your spine. Exhale, squeeze the ball. And then on the inhale, lower your hands by straightening your elbows. Release the front of the shoulders and exhale, bend the elbows, flexing the biceps. Now, this might feel sort of like a non-action, and we are going to do 8 of these. As you move through each repetition, feel a greater clarity in the muscles that you're using. It's very common as we straighten the elbows to feel a bracing in the front of the shoulders and a lifting through the back of the arms or a straining forward. So don't allow that to happen. We're about halfway through at this point, and we're going to do quite a few little shoulder movements here. Feel that the shoulder blades themselves do not jam into the back of the ribs or press into the back of your neck. We'll bend the elbows 2 more times. And because we're using the breath and we're still focusing on core connections to it, we're still working into muscle memory through that deepest support. When you bent the elbows the last time, return to that 90-degree angle and lift your elbows away from your sides. We're going to do push-ups here. Now the elbows only lift away from your sides as far as they can go and remain comfortable with regard to your neck. On the exhale, we push the arms forward, push-up style. And on the inhale, we open the chest. Eight of these. Squeeze your chest muscles to bring the arms forward of the shoulders and squeeze your triceps to extend through the elbows. We're halfway through. We have 4 more. Do not squeeze your shoulder blades to extend your arms forward. Simply let them rest in a stable position on the back. And I promise you, if you can avoid squeezing your shoulder blades, it will take a lot of the tension out of this movement of the arms to the front. Do 1 more, please, extending the arms forward. And then rotate the inside of the wrist toward each other. We begin 8 sets of triceps. Bear with me. Inhale, bend the elbows, and exhale, extend arms long toward the ceiling. Try to keep the elbow points reaching upward toward the ceiling as you drop the hands back by the shoulders. Check in with your feet and pelvis now and then, and try and keep the arms parallel as you work through this chain. And if you're not cheating with your shoulder blades or your collarbones, sometimes that takes a fair amount of attention and it might be tiring. 3 more repetitions. And then turn the inside of the wrist toward the knees. We have arm reaches back, and this is our last thing before moving on. On your inhale, allow the bottom of the shoulder blades to widen apart and reach the arms back. On the exhale, as you return the arms, widen through the top of the shoulder blades and gather the bottom of the shoulder blades inward. Again, it's that spinning action of the shoulder blades against the back of the ribs, allowing that movement in the shoulder blades without actually lifting the shoulders toward the ears. And while we are anchoring or connecting the shoulders and ribs to the pelvis, we're not doing it with a tensing of the low back muscles. 3 more. We're doing it with a connection through the obliques that we used in ab prep, and with a good core breath that engages all the way up. 1 more. And then once you've done the last one, bring your arms all the way down by your sides. Bend your elbows, put the dumbbells off to the side unless you want to use them for spinal rotation. And then we do turn over onto our side and do 3 repetitions of spinal rotation from side lying. Keep the ball if you can. Extend the arms out in front of you. And even though the head might not be quite perfect in its placement, feel balance in the rest of your spine. We'll inhale and turn the head upward and lift the top arm. Feel the spiral begin in the neck. And then on the exhale, continue downward through the height of your ribs, the length of your waist. Inhale right there. Exhale and return. Continue, same breath, same pattern as ever. Beginning the rotation with the next inhale. Continuing through the exhale, feel length through the crown. Inhale. And as you begin your exhale and return, feel length through the base of the pelvis, not tucking through the tail or imprint, but length through the bottom of the waist into the base of the hips. 1 more, please. When you've completed your third one, roll to your second side. And arrange yourself in your neutral with as much balance as you can find in the spine. Ready to begin, inhale, turn the head upward and lift the arm. Exhale, continue turning, rotating open. Inhale here, lengthening through the base of the hips. Exhale, return active through the sides of the waist. A total of 3. Reaching the bottom arm along the floor, helping to anchor the back of the shoulder. Notice if you're tensing the back of the shoulder, either the top or the bottom one, to support the movement of the spine. We want to remove that tensioning in the shoulder and put the anchor into our core muscles. When you've completed your last one, put the ball off to the side and roll over to lie on your belly. You can rest your forehead on your blanket or on your fingertips, and we're going to do some hip extension here. So scoot your legs long, and then resting the spine in neutral with your preferred support. Stretch behind the knees and through the front of the ankles and top of the feet. And as you relax the hips, allow the front of the pelvis to settle equally into ground. Line up the inner thighs with each other and with the line of your spine above. Stretch through the sides of the waist. Inhale. And then as you exhale, use your glute muscles to lift the back of the legs, pulling the top of your thigh bones up into the back of your pelvis with a contraction of your glutes. Hold and inhale. Exhale and lower. 2 more, please. Stretching through the legs, breathing in, and then exhale, lifting with the glutes. Be careful not to use your low back muscles either for stability or the lift of the legs. Inhale, hold, and exhale, lower. With each inhale, look also at rebalancing posture, refining, and then exhale, lift the legs one last time. Hold the lift, breathe in, and exhale to lower. Keep your legs stretched, the hips even, and bring your hands into breaststroke prep number 1 position. So widen your hands apart from your shoulders, bring your elbows a little closer to your sides, and have parallel forearms. Inhale, balancing through your length, and then exhale, extend through the upper back, the chest reaching forward and upward, lengthening through the crown of the head, the stem of the neck, one smooth, unbroken curve upward from the bottom of the ribs, and lower on the next exhale. Please do 4 more. Breath in and breath out. Make sure that as you refine through this set of movements, you're using the muscles in the middle back, below and between the bottom of the shoulder blades. The hips and legs are stable and stretched. And as you move through the upper spine, you're allowing the shoulders and the head to travel along with that spinal extension, maintaining their balanced position over top. Last one, please. When you finished your last one, push back into shell stretch and round over for a moment. And you can either sit on the ground or allow your heels to settle towards your hips to settle towards your heels. Come onto your fingertips if you're sitting on your hips and press the floor away a little bit. We want to get stretch in the muscles at the bottom of the back ribs, the extensors that we used, and allow the back of the hips, the glute muscles, to stretch over and underneath the curve that we've created in the spine. Nod yes, and turn the head no. And then walk your fingertips in and stack your spine up a bit at a time. Turn over and lie onto your back. You can have the ball nearby. You can also have your flex band nearby. We're going to do a set of the 100. Consider trying it without the flex band And if you need to, keeping the head down. I want I want us to feel like the movement of the arms is not so much a work into the strength at the back of the shoulder, but is a little bit more about a reminder to keep that area of the body free. All right. Take a breath, and on your exhale, make your imprint. Hold on to your imprint and feel that you're able to relax the glutes. You're not pushing into the ground with your feet. And then above the pelvis, the ribs are in a stable position, not crunched or tense at the bottom of your back ribs. That's important, especially if you're bending forward. So, taking a breath here, exhale, lift a leg up into tabletop, and then lift the second leg. Now, if you're using the flex band, that's fine. You go ahead and put it in place. Know that also you can put your hands behind your head or indeed leave the head on the mat. If you're going to stretch your arms by your sides, begin by extending the fingertips forward and feeling already that kind of looseness and adaptability in the shoulders. Nod the chin to the chest, lifting the base of the skull. And as you exhale and lengthen through both ends of the spine, bend forward, bringing your arms down. Continue here. Inhale smoothly when you're done, lower your head and hug your knees to your chest so you can put your flex band off to the side if you were using it. Hug your knees into your chest, allow your tailbone to lift a little bit and walk your hips away from the bottom of your ribs. And then take a moment, you can sway the legs, you can circle. We're going to do a little bit of tailbone curl or lift here, which is just a super duper turbo version of imprint. And you can do this by placing the legs into tabletop and supporting the back of your legs or not, right? Alternatively, you can reach through the length of your knees, extending the lower legs upward, and same placement of the hands. What we're going to try to do is use the imprint muscles and secure the bottom of the ribs. So we don't want to contract the lower abs and lift the top of the ribs up or bottom of the ribs up. Instead, we want to keep the ribs in place. And on our exhale, lengthen from the bottom of the ribs down through the tail and reach the tail upward, letting it grow a little lighter. And then release. Exhale, lengthening in two directions, secure through the ribs, reaching through the tail, and maybe pulling it upward a little bit. Soften your neck and your shoulders. Inhale, release. Go for this feeling. We do 3 more times. Exhale, lengthening, feeling the squareness of the upper ribs with regard to the shoulders and the head. Last 2 repetitions. Remember not to lock out the hips. We want the pelvis to be able to roll a little. And 1 more. And then let it go. Bend your knees if they're extended and exhale, lower a foot at a time to the mat. Widen your feet to the distance of your hips. Return to a neutral spine and drop your knees off to one side and then the other, just once or twice. Go ahead and bring your feet into a neutral position underneath you and maybe grab a ball between the knees. So we're going to do a shoulder bridge right now. We are playing with sequence this morning. Remove or lower your head nap and have a neutral spine. We are using the glutes in an equal way to lift up through, and we are trying to stabilize the spinal posture as we rotate around the axis of our shoulders. Key. Take a breath in, and then exhale, squeeze the ball, and press the hips upward. Inhale at the top, and then exhale and lower the hips downward. Reach long through the base of the pelvis, long through the crown, and land. Be careful as you lift in the next one that you're not curling the tail up. You get the same sort of length through the back of the pelvis in a neutral posture. And here again, length, I'm meaning openness. We do a set of 5. Feel clearly the axis of the shoulders across the center of the chest. And feel the ribs rolling through that axis. Not pressing back, not straining forward, just moving. Last 2. The other thing I'd like you to notice is the ease of movement of the pelvis through the axis of the hips. The pelvis and its attachment into the spine, stable, both in length and posture, as the hips move into flexion and extension. One more. When you've lowered from this last one, put the ball off to the side and stretch the legs along the mat. We're going to roll over onto our front and do breaststroke prep number 2, or dart, which is the one with the arms long by the sides. You can again pat under your forehead with your mat or blanket. And as you stretch through the spine, into the pelvis, into the hips and the legs, we have that length and that supported neutral posture. Remember, you're resting the front of your hips and your pelvis on the mat, so you've got some additional proprioceptive cueing as well as structural support here. All you have to do is keep it balanced and steady, and then when you're ready to go, inhale, lift up the arms along the sides, palms facing inward. On the exhale, extend the upper spine. Feet stay on the ground, and we're using our middle back muscles, keeping the top of the shoulders and the placement of the head comfortable and neutral on the spine. Inhale there, and exhale, lower. Release shoulders forward. We do 4 more of these. As you inhale and lift the arms and place the shoulders, try and balance how the 2 shoulders work with each other. And of course, I'm referring to shoulder blades, but also collarbones. Inhale and exhale, lower. Because of right or left-handedness, very often the timing and the strength, as well as the muscles that are available for use, can be different side to side, unless we put a lot of awareness into how we can balance that out. Last 2. Placing the arms, feel it in your triceps, and without strain in the front of the shoulders, you rise up Arms suspended in space. One more. When you're done with your last one, bring your hands up near your shoulders and slide back again into shell stretch. Your favorite version, rounding through the length of your spine and trying to distribute the curve equally top to bottom, bottom to top. You can do the little nod of the head. You can turn it no. You can move the shoulders a little bit. You can even lean or side bend a little bit. And then pushing off the ground, exhale, walk your hands in and roll up and come to a seated position. We're going to do half roll back. And of course, you can sit on anything you want to sit on. Change my camera a little bit. Not that much. Ball between the knees can be helpful. Right. And after the first couple of half rollbacks, we're going to add an optional motion with the arms. So if you know that you want to modify the arms by keeping them a little closer to you, that's fine. We just had some practice with suspending the arms in space and taking the strain off the neck. So if you're working with extended arms forward, as you extend them forward, find the front of the deltoids, find the platform of support under your shoulder blades, and trust that as you release the neck. Like our shoulder bridge, but also unlike it, we're going to exhale and roll the pelvis through the inner thighs. Even though we're squeezing the inner thighs, we're allowing movement here. Upper body is vertical and neutral. And then exhale and return. So this is also like our tailbone curl, yeah? We exhale and make our imprint and then kind of turbocharge it, reaching into a deeper contraction that lengthens the tail and slides it under the glutes, reaching it away from us toward our heels. Inhale at that point and exhale, roll it back up. One more just the same, and then we start to build. Inhale on the sitting bones, ready to go, and then exhale, lengthen up and down. Balance how you carry the shoulders. That little extra something, something out of the lower abs, but not the front of your hips. And then exhale, return. Take a brief pause to just move your arms around, especially if you had been holding them in front. And then we do 3 more where we add an extension of the arms upward. If you're working with hands near the chest, you might want to consider just putting hands at the forehead or behind the ears. It's just another way to modify. When you're ready to continue, find the position you want to use for your arms, and then exhale, same. Roll it back. Get that little extra something out of the low abs without putting it into the hips. And then at the end of the lower part of your spine curving, we pause and inhale and maybe raise the arms overhead, widening the bottom of the shoulder blades. Bending through the bottom of the ribs, we exhale and complete the flexion as though we were doing a cat stretch. Eventually, you'll roll forward until you're on the sitting bones once more. And then inhale, roll up, allowing the top of the shoulder blades to widen and the bottom of the shoulder blades to find integration on the back. Exhale, roll back. Inhale, lift the arms, widening the shoulder blades but maintaining stability through the ribs. And then exhale, bend the spine. One more time, please. Exhale, roll back. Inhale, maybe lift the arms. Exhale, bend forward. And inhale, roll up. Lower your arms and pause for a moment. Okay. So you can stretch your legs or not, or you can just stretch them briefly. We're going to do a little bit of roll down and up, and then a couple of other things at the bottom here. If you like to rebend your knees for roll down and roll up, and usually it's a shallower bend, that's fine. Stretch your legs if you can, though, and have the ball maybe between the feet, optional. Now, when I roll up, you'll probably see me reaching my arms down and sliding them along my thighs as a way of grounding the shoulders and making my roll up more smooth. You can also put a flex band around the bottoms of your feet and hold on to the ends to assist with the smoothness in the movement. Extending the arms forward, unless you're holding the flex band, feel that same starting point. And on the exhale breath, you attempt to roll all the way down. All the way down, you can reach the arms back, widening across the bottom of the shoulder blades. Nod the head and exhale, bend forward. Now, if you need to use an assist with your arms, it's not that your abs aren't strong. Go ahead and continue. It could be, and most often is, an imbalance in how the two sides of the body coordinate with each other, not just the left and the right, but the front and the back. Could also be a little stiffness in the shoulder girdle area at the bottom of the ribs. Could be a little stiffness through the length of your spine. One more all the way down and up. And then when you've returned upright from the last one, lower your arms. And I guess I've gotten to the point in my own practice where I can let my ego go out of it. And if I don't roll up and down without a prop, I don't roll up and down without a prop. It's not a big deal because I'm more interested in making my joints comfortable, right? Middle age. So we're going to sit up and do some twist and try to balance across the sides how we use our obliques. Yeah. So sitting up nice and tall, whether you're on a cushion or a chair, if you can, extend your arms to the side. But if that creates a drag on the shoulders, why? Why do it? I'm going to have my hands placed on the center of my chest. And focus on the rotation now being initiated from the bottom of the obliques. We divide the exhale up into 3 when we get there, preparing with an inhale. And then on the exhale, twist a little bit to one side from the bottom of the waist. Exhale again, twisting a little more. Exhale a final time, twisting the final amount, and make sure you haven't skewed the shoulders. Inhale, return through center. Other side. Exhale a little. Exhale, twist a little more. Balance the sitting bones. Exhale, twist, not skewing ribs or shoulders. Inhale, return. Now we're going to do 3 more across the sides. If at any point you decide, well, I might be ready to extend the arms, of course that's fine. Yeah. If you're working with the extension of the arms, feel not just the back of the shoulder girdle, but the line through, under the surface, through the center of the chest. Use your deltoids to hold up your arms from the top or cap of the shoulder as you feel the bottom of the ribs in front and the bottom of the shoulder blades in back, forming the foundation or base, ground level of your shoulder blades. Release and lower your arms. Roll your shoulders. Maybe grab a flex band. We're going to lie on our backs and do some single leg or one leg circling, right? And start to wind down here. Okay. So, and I can't quite do a complete one leg circle in this room, so I'm going to bend my knee, but of course you can do what you have room for. Head mat is fine. Take a moment once you've laid down. Feel that you can relax into the floor. Notice if you have any spots of compression or tightness, and just kind of wiggle around and adjust the spine and the hips and shoulders and ribs until they're all as open as possible. On the next breath out, I'd like you to lift one leg to tabletop. I'm going to bring my left leg up and try not to kick my computer. If you're using your flex band, you can go ahead and put it around the sole of the foot. Yeah. And then, of course, you can extend or not through this top leg. If you are doing the extension through the knee, use the quad muscles toward the inner thigh line of the leg. And you can even check it with your hands. Can you engage through those muscles without locking the hip? Now, I'm not going to use my flex band because I don't want to pull my shoulders forward. If you are using a flex band, bend your elbows and lightly engage your biceps. Breath out to prepare, maybe sliding the bottom foot long. And then on your inhale, bring the lifted leg out to the side and exhale, circle. Do 5. And I know for myself right away, I notice the bottom of my shoulder blades and my lats wanting to really tighten up in an effort to stabilize my ribs. That's just me. But everyone has their own little patterns of pulling off center or pulling off core when the movement requires a little bit more. After 5, please reverse. Take the lifted leg across the midline and circle. 5 of these guys. And then when you finish with this side, bend the knee and pull the knee in toward the chest. Allow your low back to flatten as you do that. Soften the bottom leg. And then put the foot on the floor. Bend your bottom leg, return to your starting position. We get ready to do the other side. So neutral spine. Exhale, lift the new leg. Flex band if you like. Stretch the knee if you like, and make sure you're not triggering the hip. And then bottom leg finally can adjust to where you want it to be. Neutral spine for sure. Starting in the outward direction, inhale, open the leg to the side, and exhale, circle. 5. And after 5, reverse. When you finish the set in both directions, bend the knee. Hug it in toward the chest. Allow the lower back to drop toward the mat. Soften the bottom leg. And then go ahead and bend the bottom leg, a little bit different exit, a little bit different cool down as we do our final movement here. Once both legs are up, scooch the back of your hips long and just kind of rock a little bit. You can also open the legs, the inner hips and thighs in big supported circles. And then finally, we end in a happy baby position. So we're going to separate the legs to the outer distance of the ribs, allow the tailbone to drop toward the mat, and begin to lift the soles of the feet toward parallel with the ceiling. Now, if you don't reach your toes or your feet, very common, you can hold the back of your calves or the back of your thighs. We do want that wide position, stretching through inner thighs and back of hips, supported in some way. Once you've got the position that feels most supported and least dramatic, close your eyes and breathe. Rock a little back and forth, left and right. Let the weight of your thigh bones sink toward the space beside your ribs. And then finally, eyes open, guide the legs in towards center. Guide them through tabletop, keeping your imprint, and lower a foot at a time to the ground. Stretch your legs long on the mat, allowing the pelvis, the whole spine, to find a neutral posture. Arms by your sides with the palms up, eyes closed or open, but if they're open, relax your focus. Breathe in and out 3 times here. And then eyes gently open. Of course, if we want to stay here, you can stay here. Otherwise, we can roll off to the side, come up to sitting. Don't roll onto your barbells, the dumbbells, that hurts. And we're done for today. So nice work, everyone. We'll see you next time. I'll leave the room open. You guys can chat. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
You too, Joyce. Thank you.